Oh, what's up, everyone? So let's do this test review we have here. Alright, so TSI test 1 test review. Number one is just adding two negative numbers, and don't forget that when you add two negative numbers, you keep the negative. So -8 plus a -5, well then you just add 8 plus 5 and keep the negative. So it'd be -13. Number 2 here, we're just multiplying. So that means number 1 on your test, you're gonna get something along the lines of, adding, subtracting, positive, negatives. Number 2 will be something along the lines either multiplying or dividing positive and negatives. 5 times -2 is -10. Bringing down the 5, 10, -10 times 5, that gives us a -50. And don't forget, just know the rules for adding, subtracting, and multiplying, dividing positive and negatives. Number 3 and 4 here is to find the slope. So remember that to find the slope, we're going to do the rise over the run. And to get the rise, usually start from the bottom point. So here's my bottom point right here. So how many times do you rise until you're even with this point, or trying to get even with the point there? So let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I went up 7. And we'll get the run. The run, that's important. Remember, if you go to the right, it's positive. If you go to the left, it's negative. In this case, we're going to go to the right, because you're right here right now. Now we're trying to get to the next dot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we went to the right, 6. So the rise was 7. The run was a positive 6, so we leave it alone. You can't reduce the 7 and the 6, so the answer is 7 over 6. Same thing on this question over here. Rise over the run. Start from the bottom point. The rise is 1, 2. So we went up 2. So the rise is 2. Now the run. Now we are right here. We need to get to the next point, so we're going to run 1, 2. Now we went 1 to the left. Remember, when you go to the left, it's negative, so it's a -1. Simplify this. 2 divided by -1, well, that's -2. 5 and 6 is to find the slope passing through the 2 points. So there's no graph here, so you would use the slope formula. It's in your notes. So I'm just going to go into it already. I'm not going to write it down. If you don't know what it is, look for it in your notes. -15 minus a -16 over -7 minus 19. Those two minuses right here turn into a plus sign. So the -15 plus 16 is 1. -7 minus 19, they're both negative, so you add them, that'd be -26. You can't reduce it, so you leave it alone. The next one here, x1, y1, x2, y2. So it's -17 minus 3 is over 19 minus 9. Of course, if you remember, if you don't know why I'm putting the numbers here, look in the notes for the slope formula. We went over it. -17 minus 3 is -20. 19 minus 9 is 10. Can I reduce -20 over 10? Yes, it gives me a -2. Number 7 and 8 here say to simplify. Now, there's no equal sign, which is good. So then just combine your like terms. Here's an x squared. Here's another x squared. There's a 1 there. Remember, I like to use the bigger powers first. That's how we go in order. So -1 plus 4, that will give me 3 x squared. +6 minus 5x. They both have x's, so combine them. 6 minus 5 is 1? So +1x. And you're done. Nothing else you can do there. Over here we have a 1n and a +3n. 1n plus 3n, that will give us 4n. -2 plus 3, since they're both just regular numbers, integers, we can add them. -2 plus 3 is a +1. Plus 1. Oh, another one here, same thing. Highest power is going to be the 3. Oh, it's over here, another 3. 4 minus 6, well, that's -2. V with a 3. That's a 3v, and that's a 4v. I'm sorry, that's a negative 3v, but they both have v's. So negative 3v plus 4v, that's positive 1v. So over here, oh, we're just distributing, no big deal. Negative 3 times x, that's negative 3x. Negative 3 times 5, well, that's negative 15. Do we add anything? Do we subtract? No. If there's an equal sign, we saw, but in this question, no, it just wants you to distribute. Number 11. A over 11 equals negative 10. It wants us to get a by itself, so this is a divide by 11, so do the opposite of divide. That would be times 11 times 11, because if you do it to the left side, you have to do it to the right side. So a is equal to negative 10 times 11. What's that? Negative sum. Negative 10 times 11. 0, 1. Negative 110? Negative 110. I'm pretty sure. If not, y'all can check my work. So n plus n is greater than negative 9. Solve for the n. How do we get rid of a positive 10? What's the opposite of a positive 10? Well, that would be to subtract 10. That cancels. N is greater than. Remember, you only flip the sign when you divide or multiply by negative. I just subtracted, no big deal. Negative 9 minus 10. Since they're the same sign, you add and keep the negative. So negative 19. Multiplying exponents. Remember that when you multiply exponents, you multiply the bases. 2 times 5 is 10. And you add the exponents. So 3 plus 3 would be 6. 5 times 6 is 30. A 2 plus this 2 here, it would be giving me x to the 4. Remember that we can only add them if they're the same letter. Okay, so be careful if on the test, I forgot the test question. Had it said times 6y squared, then it would be 30x squared y squared, because we can't combine those because one's an x, one's a y. Okay, just be careful with that. 15. We're trying to get the x by itself. Okay, but the x has this little 2. Do you remember what cancels the little 2? What cancels the squared? That's right below it, this thing. The square root. The square root cancels it. Is there anything in the front? Is there anything in front of here? No. Is there anything after the x squared? No. So then it's ready to be solved. So we'll take the square root. If you take the square root to the left, you have to take the square root to the right. Now, the square root and the 2 cancels, and you're only left with x is equal to the square root of 144. The square root of 144 is the number that multiplies itself to get 144. That would be 12. Because 12 times 12 is 144. But don't forget that it's 12 and negative 12, okay? Because 12 times 12 is 144, but negative 12 times negative 12 is also 144. So the number 16 will be the exact same way we did it. There is nothing in front of the x. There's nothing afterwards. So it's ready to be solved. Take the square root. Take the square root. This cancels that little 2, so it's just x. The square root of 225 is the number that multiplies by itself to get 225. In this case, you would get 15 and negative 15. Remember that if you don't know this on the top of your head, you'd have to do it by hand. Like, oh, what's 10 times 10? What's 11 times 11? Until you get that number, because you can't use a calculator on my test. Number 17. We're trying to solve for the square root. Okay, get the square root. Get all of this. Get all of this by itself. Is there anything in front of this? Yes. So I have to get rid of it. Is there anything afterwards? No. So then all we have to do is get rid of the number or whatever is in front of it. So let's get rid of it. That's a negative 1. How do you get rid of a negative 1? Well, you add 1. 2 plus 1 is 3. That's equal to the square root of v minus 9. Now, is there anything in front of the square root here? No. Is there anything after the square root? No. Now you are ready to solve. Now, how do you get rid of this little the square root? Parentheses 2. Parentheses 2. Why you do it to both sides? Because if you do it to one side, you have to do it to the other side. The squared cancels all of this. It's all gone now. So this is just going to be v minus 9 is equal to 3 squared. Remember that 3 squared means 3 times 3, not 3 times 2. So 3 times 3 will be 9. So get the v by itself. How do you move a minus 9? Well, you add 9. So v is equal to 9 plus 9, that's 18. So the answer to this question is 18. Number 18. Number 18. Is there anything in front of the square root right here? No. Was there anything afterwards? No. So it's perfect. It's ready to be solved. How do you get rid of the square root? Parentheses little 2. Parentheses little 2 on this side also. This 2 cancels all of this. It's all gone. So all we have left is just n over 10 is equal to, what's 0 squared? 0 times 0, that's just 0. Now, n divided by 10. How do you get rid of the divide by 10? It would be times 10. Times 10 to both sides. 10 times 0 is still 0, so n is 0. All right. Number 19 here. Negative 4 plus n, divide that by 3 is equal to 3. This is a multi-step equation. You want to solve for n. So you get rid of the number under the fraction. The n is the last thing you move. We don't like fractions, so how do you get rid of divide by 3? Well, you times 3. Times 3. Negative 4 plus n is equal to 3 times 3 is 9. How do you get rid of that minus 4? Add 4. So you have n is equal to 9 plus 4, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. 13. Right, the next one. There's an equal sign, so we're trying to solve for x. If the number is outside the parentheses, you are going to distribute. 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times a negative 8, well, that's negative 64 with an x, is equal to 264. So now there's my x. Remove the 8. How do you move this 8? You subtract 8. Why do you subtract 8? Because you can't put 8 plus 8, that gives you 16. You want to cancel it away. 264. Subtract that by 8. 264, subtract that by 8, you're going to get what? 256. It's equal to negative 64x. Now I want to get the x by itself. How do you get rid of the number in front of the x? Remember that you're multiplying there, so you do the opposite of multiplication, so you divide by negative 64. So that goes away, it's all gone. So it's just x here. So 256, divide that by a negative 64. Now that one's a pain in the butt. You might have to work it out, 64 times 1, 64 times 2, whatever. But regardless, it's a positive divided by a negative. That means our answer is negative. And if you divide that, you're going to get 4. So negative 4. So let's see here. Hold on. Where was I? All right, number 21. That's that tricky question from one of our assignments we had. You're tempted to do this, right? But remember, if you ask for my help, I told you that was wrong. Because this is the time sign. So you should multiply the negative 4 in here and bring down this number. So bring down the 6. So negative 4 times the negative x. That's, negative 4 times negative x, that's positive 4x. And then negative 4 times the negative 3, that's positive 12. 6 and 12, that'll give us 18. So it's 4x plus 18. There's no equal sign, so just leave it alone. Negative 5 plus a negative 7, that's negative 12. Bring down the negative 8. Negative 12 plus a negative 8, that's negative 20. This is a minus and a minus, it turns to plus sign, so Negative 20 plus 5, that gives us what? Negative 15. Okay. 23. A negative over a negative is positive. 18 divided by 6 is 3. Oh, FOIL method. So this times this. I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna write down all the steps one time, and then I'm just gonna keep on working. Negative 6m times 5m. That's the first thing we do. Then negative 6 times negative 6m times a negative 6. That was this one right here. Then negative 3 times 5. 5m. And then negative 3 times a negative 6. Right, those are all the steps. And then we fix it. If you need to do all those steps, do them, please. Don't get this question wrong. Negative 6 times 5, that would be a negative 30. M times m is m squared. Negative 6 times negative 6, that's positive 36 with an m. Negative 3 times 5, that's negative 15 with an m. And then a negative 3 times a negative 3, that's positive 18. Fix the middle, because the middle is like terms. Right here, there's an m, there's an m. Positive 36 minus 15. Positive 36 minus 15, we have to fix this. So negative 30m squared plus 21m plus 18. All right. 7a times, or negative 7 times 3a, that's negative 21a squared. Negative 7 times 5, that's a negative 35a. 6 times 3, that's positive 18a. And then 6 times 5 is a positive 30. Again, right here, negative 35a plus 18a. Remember, since they're different signs, you subtract them and keep the sign of the bigger one. So negative 21a squared. You subtract those two numbers, you're going to get 17. 35 is bigger, so it's negative 17a plus 30. 8 times a negative 4, that's negative 32 n squared. 8 times a 1, that's positive 8n. Negative times a negative is positive. 4 times 4 is 16 with an n. Negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Positive 8n, positive 16. So 2 just pluses, so that's nice. So we just have to add 8 plus 16 there in the middle. So negative 32n squared. If you add 8 plus 16, you get a positive 24n minus 4. So 27. Negative 3m times 5m, that's a negative 15 with an m squared. Negative 3 times 5 again, that's negative 15 with just a regular m. 8 times 5 is positive 40 with an m. And then 8 times 5 again is a positive 40 with no m. So we got a negative 15 plus 40 in the middle here. Since they're different signs, you subtract them. Keep the sign of the bigger. The 40 is bigger, so the number will be positive. So negative 15m squared. You subtract those, you get what? 25? Yeah, positive 25 with an m. And then positive 40. All right. Oh, here we go. Dividing exponents. And when we divide exponents, we divide the big numbers. So I'm going to divide 3 divided by 3. 3 divided by 3, that gives me 1. Right? So I have a 1. Now when you divide these 4s, oh, let me explain this real quick. Hello. So 3 divided by 3 is 1. I don't have to write the 1. If not, I would write it like this. 1 over 1, because there's other stuff on here, right? But so I'm not going to write those 1s. I don't need to. Now I have a y right here. I have a 4 with the y, and then if you look down, this is not y, it's x. So I have to come over here to this one. So when you subtract I'm sorry, when you divide, you subtract the powers. So you have 4 minus, what's the bottom number? A -2. What's 4 minus -2? This turns into a plus. So that's 4 plus 2, that's 6. So you have y to the 6. Again, why? Well, I mean, like, you know, why did this happen? Because it's 4. Then you subtract whatever the bottom number is here because they're the same letter. So 4 minus a -2. Okay? That's what happens. Now, what happens to this lonely 4? This lonely x 4? Is it negative? No. Leave it alone. It did nothing wrong. Leave it on the bottom. And you're done. Because the 3 divided by 3 went to 1. 29. There's a 1 right here. So we have a 1 and we have a 3. Can you divide 1 and 3? No. That means on your fraction, there's going to be a 1 here and a 3 there. Don't touch them, leave them alone. Here's x to the 3. Do I have any x's in the bottom? No. Is the x positive or is it negative? It's positive, so just leave it on top. Leave it alone. Now the y's though. We have 4 y's here and 3 y's there. When you divide, you subtract them. 4 minus 3 will give us 1. So it's y to the 1. Now this is great. It's the answer, but typically we're going to write it like this. x3 y over 3. Like we don't put the little 1 here on top and we don't write the 1 on top there. Number 30. We're subtracting fractions. So you can't add or subtract fractions unless you have a common denominator. We have 3 and we have 4. What's the common denominator between 3 and 4? 12. If you don't know, just multiply them. That's the cheap way to get them, right? So 3 times 4 is 12, so then we have to make them both be 12. So I want 12. And then there's a minus sign. Don't forget the minus sign there. Minus another one over 12. Now how does 3 become 12? Well, it's times 4. That's how you get to be 12. You do times 4 to the bottom, you gotta do times 4 to the top. How does 4 become 12? Well, times 3. Times 3 to the bottom, times 3 to the top. Now fix it. 4 times 1, that's 4. 4 times 3, that's 12, I already have it there. 2 times 3 is 6. And 4 times 3 is 12, I already have it there. Now we can do what it says. 4 minus 6. 4 minus 6, that would give us a -2. And then the 12s, do you put 12 minus 12 and get 0? No, leave the 12 alone. Is this done yet? Well, can you reduce 2 and 12? Yeah. We can divide them both by 2. -2 divided by 2, that'll give you a -1. 12 divided by 2 is 6. So don't forget to reduce the fractions if you can. Number 31 here. We have a 7 and a 3. What is a common denominator between 7 and 3? Again, if you don't know, just multiply them. 7 times 3 is 21. So 21 with a plus sign, 21. We're going to make them both be 21. How does 7 become 21? Well, times 3. We do times 3 to the bottom, we do times 3 to the top. How does 3 become 21? Well, times 7. Times 7 to the bottom, times 7 to the top. 3 times a -3, that is -9. 7 times 3 is 21, I already have it there. Plus sign, 1 plus 7, that's 7. 3 times 7 is 21. So just so we don't get confused, that's what we have right now. -9 plus 7. -9 plus 7, that's -2. And then keep the 21 on the bottom. Can we reduce 2 and 21? No, 2 doesn't go into 21. You're done. Number 32. I'm trying to solve for x here. Remember that whenever you have a inequality, it only changes when you multiply or divide by a negative. Or the x is on the wrong side, but we'll get there. So leave the x alone last. That's what we do last. So get rid of the 8. Subtract 8. 9 minus 8 is 1. The same symbol. Then x over 15. Now x is almost by itself. How do you get rid of the divide by 15? Well, you times 15 to both sides. So 15 times 1, that gives me 15. The same symbol. Remember, if this had been a negative 15, they would change it, but it's a positive 15, no big deal. Then x. This is right. But most of your answer choices have the x on this side. So just keep the sign the same. What do you mean keep the sign the same? Right now it is pointing to the x, right? So then make sure it points to the x. Or if you're one of those that are like, oh no, sir, this is the little Pac-Man, right? Well, it's eating the, it goes there. It's eating the 15, same thing. So make sure it does the same thing here. 15 goes here. There you go, same thing. Okay. Same thing here on this number 33 here. Leave the m and the 4 alone, move the 7. So subtract 7 first. 5 minus 7 is negative 2. That symbol, m over 4. How do you get rid of divide by 4? You times 4. Times 4 to both sides. 4 times negative 2, that's negative 8. Greater than or equal to m. Remember, that is correct. But if the m is on this side, keep the sign the same. That's the original sign, so like that, from the other way around. 34 wants us to graph this line. Remember we start here? That's the y-intercept. So on the y-axis at positive 6, make a dot. There we go. Then the rise and the run. The rise is negative 2 and the run is 3. What does it mean to rise negative 2? But it means to go down 2, and then it means to go to the right 3. So let's go down 2, right 3. 1, 1, 2, 3 to the right. 1, 2, 3. There's the next dot. Down 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. There's my next dot. Down 1, 2, over 1, 2, 3. There's my next dot. I can also go up 1, 2 to the left, 3. Make another one. Whatever. There's my line. Or it's not there yet, right? I need to make the line. There you go. Line. Y equals negative 4. Remember the y line, go to the y-axis and make a dot at 4. The y-axis, go to the dot, here's my 4. Make a big old dot there. Now remember that the y lines go horizontal, so then just make a horizontal line here. And you're done. The next one says x equals 1. Go to the x-axis and put a dot at 1. X-axis and 1. Right there. Remember that the x lines go up and down. So make an up and down line here. Right? And that's pretty much it. That finishes the review. Now keep in mind that every question here helps you answer the questions on your test. For example, number 36 on your test is a graphing question. Is x equals maybe so. Number 35 is a graphing question. Maybe it's a y, but it's a graphing question. Okay. Number 33 will be an inequality like this. You know what I mean? So you just, if we did the notes and you ask questions, I mean, not ask questions, but you watch the video and you know how to do every single question on the test. I showed you step by step how to do them. Different numbers, obviously, but same steps. And that's it. All right. Laters.